Good morning. I'm Holly Jaroki, Parks Recreation Facilities Director for the town of Pecos City, and I will be reading today The Tale of Jemima Puddle Duck by Beatrix Potter. What a funny sight it is to see a brood of ducklings with a hen. Listen to the story of Jemima Puddle Duck. She was so annoyed because the farmer's wife would not let her hatch her own eggs. Her sister-in-law, Mrs. Rebecca Puddle Duck, was perfectly willing to leave the hatching to someone else. I have not the patience to sit on a nest for 28 days, and no more have you, Jemima. You would let them go cold. You know you would. I wish to hatch my own eggs. I will hatch them all by myself, quacked Jemima Puddle Duck. She tried to hide her eggs, but they were always found and carried off. Jemima Puddle Duck became quite desperate. She determined to make a nest right away from the farm. She set off on a fine spring afternoon along the cart road that leads over the hill. She was wearing a shawl and a coat bonnet. When she reached the top of the hill, she saw a wood in the distance. She thought that it looked like a quiet, safe spot. Jemima Puddle Duck was not much in the habit of flying. She liked to run downhill a few yards, flapping her shawl, and then she jumped off into the air. She flew beautifully when she got a good start. She skimmed along over the treetops until she saw an open place in the middle of the wood, where the trees and brushwood had been cleared. Jemima alighted rather heavily and began to waddle about in search of a convenient, dry nesting place. She rather fancied a tree stump amongst some small, tall foxgloves. Seated upon the stump, she was startled. She found an elegantly dressed gentleman reading a newspaper. He had black ears, sandy-colored whiskers. "Quack," said Jemima Puddle Duck, with her head and her bonnet on one side. "Quack." The gentleman raised his eyes above his newspaper and looked curiously at Jemima. "Madam, have you lost your way?" He had a long, bushy tail, which he was sitting upon, as the stump was somewhat damp. Jemima thought, "He's a mighty civil and handsome." She explained that she had not lost her way, but she was trying to find a convenient, dry nesting place for her eggs. Here's a picture of the fox reading his newspaper, talking to Jemima. "Ah, is that so?" "Indeed," said the gentleman with sandy whiskers, looking curiously at Jemima. He folded up the newspaper and put it in his coat tail pocket. Jemima complained to the hen, "Indeed, how interesting. I wish I could meet with that fowl. I would teach it to mind its own business. But as to a nest, there is no difficulty. I have a sack full of feathers in my woodshed." "No, my dear madam, you will be nobody's way. You may sit there as long as you like," said the bushy long-tailed gentleman. He led the way to a very retired, dismal-looking house amongst the foxgloves. It was built of turf, and there were two broken pails, one on top of the other, by way of the chimney. "This is my summer residence. You would not find my earth or my winter house so convenient," said the hospitable gentleman. There was a tumble-down shed at the back of the house made of old soap boxes. The gentleman opened the door and showed Jemima in. The shed was almost quite full of feathers. It was almost suffocating as well, but comfortable and soft. Jemima Puddle Duck was rather surprised to find such a vast quantity of feathers. It was very comfortable. She made a nest without any trouble at all. Here's Jemima in her nest of feathers. When she came out, the sand